Hi.
Hi.
All right. So I'm really delighted to have all of you here because we do know that Tamil Nadu politics, West Bengal politics, we're seeing extensively the number of stars who are jumping the fray, joining politics. I think it all comes at a cost. All of you all have done it all. Films, cinema, small screen, the large screen, as well as activism. I'd like to ask you, in the business jargon, there's always cost to benefit analysis. I'd like to ask you, what is the cost that you pay for speaking up? Chetan, I'll start with you.
First of all, I'm happy to be here at India today. There might be a cost professionally, but for the sake of society, anything that helps the dispossessed and the marginalized is worth doing. Let me say something first. Art and politics in the Indian context are inextricably intertwined and interconnected. They're fundamentally connected. To understand this, you must look at what is the definition of art and what is the definition of politics. Art is a creative expression of an idea or an emotion. We all know cinema is an art. But politics doesn't have to be electoral politics. It doesn't have to be party politics. What is politics but a power relations between people, whether it be decision making, distribution of resources, and in the cinema industry, essentially making a cinema and releasing it is a power relation, is politics. And if you look at the structure of the film industry inherently, it's inherently political because the structure of the film industry is graded, is hierarchical, is unfortunately feudal. There are people on the top of the food chain, whether that be stars, producers, distributors, exhibitors, directors, to market values, it differs. And there are so many people, the large working class, who is powerless to different levels. And that, I say, are the three W's, the women, the writers, and the workers. And you look at this that is gender and economically unequal. If you really want to make a change in politics, you don't have to join a political party. You don't have to, as a cinema person, you don't have to jump into like any ideology. You have to fight for the cinema industry itself and these like marginalized people. And if you look at politics and art, if you look at it's so in the foundation and the folk of India, it's there. Like I'll give you an example. In the Devadasi system is where Dalit and Adivasi women were marginalized and exploited by feudal casteist forces, Brahminical forces, until 1988. And Dalit and Devadasi women would perform, they would dance, and to this day their kids are performing. This is art and politics. If you look at art and politics, you look at nomadic cultures where they're like economically, socially, educationally marginalized, they paint colors, they basically do street performances. This is art and politics.
So you're saying basically there is no difference. If you have the stage, you already have a jump start.
Art and politics
there's really no difference between a politician and an actor. You really need the same skills at large. You need to be camera friendly, have an appeal to the audience. I'd like to ask Lakshmi. Lakshmi, you've been raising your brows. Go on, Lakshmi Manchu. I'll go in order. Yeah.
You have to be specific about that.
Yeah.
Lakshmi.
There are two Lakshmis here.
Hello, everybody. A very good afternoon to all of you. Feels great to be in Chennai, Madras, where I was born. And it's always a nostalgic feeling to be here. And I see from where you're coming, and I agree in a lot of places that there is always place for us to improve and get better. And in all walks of life that I see, being born and raised in the film industry, my dad was an assistant director and going to school as a drill master. That's where he started, coming from a village that he had to put roads when he got better in his career, right? But to just say that it is happening everywhere, no, my dad came from nothing, and he created this way for us, and to think about the future and getting things done right. I'm yet to see an industry where everything is so perfect. We're all figuring out as time goes and what is the best way for all of them to have. That's why unions have come into place. We have now created many forms and women groups as well in our industry to have people reach out and to tell us in which way we can be better. And I see where you're coming from and I see what you're saying, but we have also stepped up for certain things which we shouldn't have. You need to pick your battles is what I say as an actor. Because, going after the government targeted over and over again when your work is to entertain as an artist. That's your primary goal, as you see.
In that case, Lakshmi, why don't we say those women, men who speak up extensively on issues outside don't speak about issues within their own industry, be it equal pay, for that matter, rape allegations against several top artists, some star bullies. There's seldom an actor who comes forward and speaks about issues within the industry.
Yeah, and when they do come out and speak, they get ostracized. So they get scared of it. So there is a way to put the system in place. And we, in Hyderabad, we created several groups, as I said. We as women, as actors and producers and writers and directors, women in cinema, saying we are here, and we actively keep this group open and for people to come and talk to us about how we can make things better. Like, even for changing rooms, because our locations are changing all the time. So most of the men and women change in the caravan of an open truck with just a curtain over, you know, when they're outdoors. How do we enhance these? There are so many things that we can get better at. But just because there are some bad things happening, you can't negate all the good work that is going on as well. So when you choose your battles, fight for what you can and get that done. Because most often right now, because we have the stage, we feel like we have a right to talk about everything and anything that a popularly elected body is doing their work on, you know. And if it is related to art, yes, you have to fight for it. But these days I see everybody has something to say about everything. Let the government do their job. I always like to, whichever government that has been with my NGO, worked with the government and said, how can we enhance this, you know? We contribute in such way. Because too often at times in this country, we are always saying, well, they're not doing it right. What are we doing right to get that going, you know? So that's where my conversation, and it's a continued progress. I'm not saying I'm here and I'll fix it and it's going to be great, but I'll definitely make a progress and to continue to do so.
Right.
But you can't leave your acting or your producing, because that really, politics affects your career in cinema.
All right, so you said it then, there is a cost to pay.
Absolutely.
Right.
We've been in the front line of it. Front line of it. When we had a movie release and we were for a particular way when the Telangana and Andhra split was happening. And we truly believed in a certain way. And something else happened. But now we embrace that and work with that government. We can't just be bitter about what has happened. But there is a cost to pay. And we were in the front lines for me to learn it. And ever since then, I choose what battles to pick. I'm not going after everything that is just something that I don't understand or don't know about.
All right. Miss Lakshmi, I'd
Yes.
come over to you. Would you say that's matter of convenience then in that case? Choosing your battles, speaking on issues that you are comfortable with, really not speaking on issues that are pressing at the moment. Considering that you have a platform, you have a jumpstart already.
And you know nothing about it.
You have a worshipful audience or a fan base that you can really influence. And you have that moment and that stage to speak. So choosing the battles that you need to pick, is that what you believe in too?
Vanakkam and a very good morning to all of you. Thank you for giving me this platform. And you wanted to say something? You want to?
No,
yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Okay, fine. So choosing your battles, that is something you learn in due course when you evolve. Basically, I feel we are all very spontaneous, being artists. So all these planning doesn't come, it is just your personality, and you really feel for something, you talk about it. Definitely you pay a price, no doubts about it. But you reach a stage where, you get groomed, and then you start choosing your battles. Which are the battles you choose? That entirely depends on what sort of a person you are from inside. I feel there was, in your brief, you had mentioned about keeping art and politics separate, or is it necessary to keep art and politics separate?
I said the lines are blurred.
No, blurred. Okay, what? Why? Yeah, I feel it should be blurred, because artists, Tamil Nadu has proved that there are a lot of great leaders, personalities from cinema. It is the most ultimate in creativity, I feel. There is a lot of teamwork. You can see a lot of team leaders there. And to be a good leader, you need to have that out-of-the-box thinking or creative thinking, which, adds a lot of value. But does that alone suffice to be a good leader? To be a good leader, you need something from within. But to be a matured politician, only fame and a brand is enough? I don't think so.
Well, that's precisely what I spoke about, skill
Yeah.
set. When you
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
an artist and an actor and a politician,
Yeah.
you more or less need similar skill set. The charm on camera, knowing how to address an audience, a mass appeal. More or less, that gives you a jump start. Do you think that's enough?
No, that is not enough, but definitely it's a jump start. Because you already have a communication with the public,
Right.
which a leader needs to have, right? But I feel there is a lot of importance to be given to grooming, mentoring, and you need to know the problems at the grassroots level. There is a lot of gap between what is written on paper and execution. Right? So you need to know the practical problems. You will know that only when you work at the grassroots level. And I loved what Lakshmi said. She said, I work in association with the government. It is very easy to, play to the gallery. You keep pointing fingers and you say, it's very easy to get that attention. But that doesn't help. Though I feel the opposition or whistleblowers are very much necessary to get the government function in their best efforts or in the best possible manner. But it's always not healthy to, just for the sake of, that attention or with a hidden agenda, you keep pointing fingers. That will be a, deterrent, or that would actually obstruct the smooth functioning of the government.
But the fact is, how many of them really do speak up, right? Many of them who actually speak up don't come from big film families. Those who, well, let me complete. Right?
No.
Those who mostly speak up are those who don't come from traditionally big film families. And I'd like to ask you, what's the reason for that?
No, it is very, very difficult. You pay a heavy price, like, I don't have a film background.
Absolutely.
But what...
Neither does Chetan and several other stars.
Yeah, so I think it's very difficult to speak your mind. And that too in a very diplomatic manner. That's something you learn to do, right?
Which is predominantly
it's
99% run by men. It's very hard.
No, I don't want to get to the gender issue at all, Lakshmi. What I'm saying is, it is something about your personality. You don't worry about what is the outcome. You don't want to play to the gallery, as simple as that. So when you want to talk about something, you feel it's your responsibility. See, when you are just an actor, your responsibility ends with doing your best, being as creative as possible. But when you become a personality, when you become a star, your role and responsibility also evolves. You get into a place where you need to voice your opinion. You need to talk when you have to talk, and talk for the right things. That is entirely up to the individual. And you have to be prepared to face the consequences. That's what I feel.
All right, let me cut across to Puka Saravanan. You've, here looking at stars across geographical and cultural divides, they've often exploited their fan base to jump into politics. Many of them may not have done as well, but somehow we see that in Tamil Nadu, stars usually foraying into politics are looked at as political demigods over the years. How did they get that magic formula?
I would disagree a bit in the start itself. It is wrong to caricature Tamil Nadus when they see them as demigods, because if you look at the long history of Tamil Nadu, you can see that before the independence movement, it was very surprising. During independence movement, you can take Bhaskara Das, Vishwanatha Das, or even Tyagabhumi by Kalki. They had their foray into this independence movement, and they used cinema as a tool to do that. And then when the Dravidian movement came, they also had it as an ideologue. They had used it as a tool to say their ideas and ideologies. It is not that through the charisma they were able to garner people. We forget that MJR was in active politics for more than 30 years before he became CM of Tamil Nadu. And also it is very pertinent to note that if you look at you count the numbers. You can have this side, the politicians, the cine politicians who became successful. You put the numbers this side. And who became a, what you can say, failure or cropper. The numbers would be staggeringly high here and the number would be less here. I can say an example. In 2004, Rajini gave a voice for a party. And what is the numbers of seats they won? 0. So, if Rajini is like a demigod, he has market all across the world, and in Asia also they worship him like anything. If Tamil Nadu people were really looking for the demigod and they are voting for him, no, not like that. And it is very important to note that there was a discussion about these fan clubs and all. And there is this scholar called Sarah Dickey. She did an amazing study on MGR. She points that MGR's fan clubs were the root structures. They were these organic structures which were doing a lot of things for people. And they were doing a lot of protectionism. They were doing a lot of welfare measures. And they were able to stitch together. And also, if you look at the movies and the message, there was, the people can connect easily with them. But at the same time, there was always an underlying social justice, care for the subaltern. For example, when these midday meals came, then the central government said, we don't have fund. And MGR actually jumped the bandwagon and he said that we would do this.
Well, how do you justify then Jayalalitha's rise?
See, the other thing is that even if you take Jayalalitha ma'am from 1984, she went into Rajya Sabha. And if you look at her speeches in Rajya Sabha, it is quite astounding. See, and the other thing is that it is very important.
Well, there are a number of orators who still haven't managed. If you really look at it, Amitabh Bachchan,
and
for that matter, Prakash Raj. I'd like to ask you a controversial question here. What do you think are the prospects of Kamal Haasan then in that case?
I would say from as a political observer, commentator, he is creating waves, but I don't think his party would fare much in Tamil Nadu. I can say it very plain. Yeah.
All right.
The reasons are that they don't have an ideological base, and there is the other thing is that when you jump into politics, you should have an ideology, you should have an idea, and you should connect with people. Just because you have a stardom, you can't just come and say, I have an charisma, please vote for me. That doesn't work in Tamil Nadu. There is lot of groundwork, there is lot of effort which goes into them, there is lot of internal churning. It is called as decentralized collective action. People, you have to cultivate a cadre, and they should connect with your ideas, and you should be doing something on ground. Just come and say, I had been star for 50 years, please vote for me. Tamil Nadu people won't do that.
Awesome.
No,
That was awesome.
Well said. No, but what we really had to give it to all of you, right? You all have to take that onslaught of criticism. Time and again, you'll have to bear with it, because there's this theory that, because he or she didn't do well in cinema, that's why they jump into politics. That's why the activist in the person wakes up. Chetan, would you say, why do you think that people like you are frowned upon when you speak up? They say, do your business, act and leave it. No, why do you have to speak up?
First of all, the idea that actors or artists or anybody in the cinema industry should speak less is flawed. In fact, they should speak more. We should understand what they think about on a daily basis, what their ideas about society and the film industry is. What do they think about sexual harassment and casting couch? What do they think about so much workers' BPL? What do they think about star culture, which goes against the egalitarian ethos of our nation? In fact, the idea that, what I support is the idea that, like, the more you receive, the more you have a responsibility and expectation to give back and a demand to give back. So stars are inherently benefited by this unjust system. In fact, to be honest with you, the creative success of a film has very little, like, the marketability is different, but the creative success has very little to do with the lead cast. But the lead cast invariably gets a lot of benefits from the success. I could say in my own films, even the successful films, even if I didn't act in it, because it was so well scripted, well done, well directed, everything else, anybody would have done it, it would have done well. See that, but the thing is, the stars get so much benefit. They have more of a responsibility to give back, and by give back, I don't mean join politics and benefit their friends and scratch the backs of the elites. I mean actually, as an artist, fight the power structure that they themselves are the beneficiary of unjustly. In other words, fight for the vulnerable, fight for the weakest, economically, socially, and marginalized. This is the responsibility of an artist. And when you talk about art and politics, in today, when you go to, like, protests, what do you see? You see art there. Politics is art. You see street plays going on. Politics and art.
Are you willing to put your entire film career at stake?
The more you have to, more you have benefited, the more you have to give back. And if you're giving back for the marginalized, then you are a true artist. If that means giving up the films, that means giving up the films. But in actuality, I think you will get more viability, more credibility, more respect as a human being. Because in films, you're not respected for who you are. You're respected because of the characters you play. And the characters you play are great. But you are not respected. But if you value the underprivileged and the dispossessed and the subaltern, and you fight for that, you as a human being have value. And let me say one more thing. In the history of the film, history of the film industry I can't talk about. Past 15 years I've been in India. In the past 15 years there have been 100 cinemas in Kannada, maybe 10 industries, maybe 15,000 films. Not a single film from 15,000 films, tell me, has it made structural change? Has it made policy change? Has it made systemic change? You have to not just voice your opinion, get out in the streets, change it for the weakest section, give up your star power. That is an artist. That is somebody who cares. That is what we expect from the people in power. And if they don't do that, they're just actors. They're not artists.
Lakshmi Manchu, you have the moral obligation. There's no choice. If you're getting, you give back. You can't choose by convenience.
What do you mean convenience? I speak as a producer and a filmmaker and an artist. Yes, if you're just acting, and if I am to produce and to have somebody fire up on my production, there are unions. For every 24 crafts in the film industry, I can only talk about that because art and politics, right? Whatever right is happening there or wrong is happening there. It's not up to me to talk about politics where a popular body has been elected to do their job.
Well, speak about issues within the industry and whatever injustice
we
is
are.
happening with women.
And listen, when I talk about working with the government, my NGO Teach for Change, which is in Bangalore as well, and in Vijayawada, in Andhra, and Telangana, and Jaya Bachchan ji is the brand ambassador for it in the north. I started it with one school as an idea to make it an ideal school. And I said, wow, with my star power, here I can go into 25,000 children's hearts and teach them English and leadership qualities. And we are the only NGO that has been affiliated with TOEFL that they can use the certificate by the end of the 3 years that they've been in our program to use it anywhere in the world. It's not that they will, these government school kids, but do you know what kind of confidence it gives them? We have documented things. Do work where you can.
Being part of an eco chamber is more
pick
tangible.
Something what you're passionate
more than
about.
Just contributing to the surrounding
overall thing. Because we as actors, we have something to fulfill. As he said, as Sir said, that, you know, just because Rajni Sir has the charisma, he should have been Chief Minister by today. You know, you can't just
you
don't
have to take the big plunge. You do it one step at a
Do it
time,
in
and it's not
many
politics
ways.
alone.
Use
We're
your
talking about activism. We're talking about speaking
Absolutely.
up.
You
spoke
should.
up when there was a girl who in the Bollywood film industry who went through crisis
I was the
over
first
the,
one
over the
to
drug
speak up.
case.
Yes,
You
yes.
spoke up, and did you receive
flack.
backlash?
Full on. Didn't you see my Twitter? Like, I was asked to not look at it for like a week. And they come at you in so many ways, in so many levels. I'll give you another example. When the whole split of Telangana and United Andhra was happening, we fought for United Andhra. My brother's movie, which was the most expensive film that we had made in association with Reliance, we released it over that weekend. An entire sect of people didn't go to see the movie. We incurred huge losses. And my dad's been active in politics. We were thrown out of our houses, and just here in Madras, hidden neighbors' houses because my dad was supporting a political party and their ideology before it came into power. So we've been beaten, and as she said, you evolve, Lakshmi ma'am, you evolve to choose your battles. I was as fiery. When you start taking those bullets, you realize, wow, I have a family to take care of. I have a production company with more than 100 families that I feed every single day.
So you have responsibilities
yes,
to cater
absolutely.
to. Ms. Lakshmi, would you say that stars are suppressed because of the magnitude of the industry and the number of people that you could be responsible for?
I could share my experience.
Go on.
Right? So for me, I don't have any political agenda, and I don't have financial ambitions either. So my ground is very clear. I enjoy the game. That's it. And I'm not bothered about what is going to happen if I talk about this, what will happen if I, share my views, and, how is it going to affect my career? Nothing. I speak for issues which affect me, I feel is important.
Has it ever had an adverse impact on you? And how have you reacted to criticism that comes in?
Your criticism is a part of your journey. It's something very, very productive, provided you are ready to take it in the productive manner. There are some unnecessary, see, it's very difficult to develop that discretion, like, oh, this is going to be productive for me. This is something I'm going to ignore.
So speak what
you
your
decide.
What is true to
yeah,
your
it depends on what agenda you have. As far as I'm concerned, I came into cinema very late after I have settled down in life, sort of. So it made my life easier. Not everyone is in that, mode. It takes time. You evolve, right? But if you're truly genuine, if you're truly honest, at one point of a time in your journey, you will cross over all these personal agendas. That is when you become a true leader. So that is all it is about. So as of now, I enjoy the ride. I enjoy the game.
Go with the flow, whatever that your heart
Absolutely. Speak. Whenever there is criticism, I try to find out whether there is something productive. My husband keeps telling me, you have a family, you have your personal health to take care of. So don't read the comments. I say it's very important for me to know the mindset of people, because my
intention... Does it bother you?
It does bother you, because if I say no, it doesn't bother me, it's very fake. We are creative people. We are very emotional people.
But extra sensitive.
Yeah.
No, but then does that deter your spirit to speak up once again if there's a cause that is close to your heart?
If it is actually your inner call, nothing can stop you. It will be temporary, but then you will regain that strength back. It will put you down for a while. Doesn't matter. But you will go through the phase and come out stronger.
Right. All right, Saravanan, I'd like to ask you, do we, in today's day and age, as of today, if I'd like to say, do you see that we lack fireful, spirited voices? Those who can really speak their mind unabashed, without fear of consequences? Are we seeing only those film stars in the past, maybe Jayalalitha for that matter, who spoke her mind absolutely, but we lack those kind of faces and voices today?
There is a manufactured consent and a market dynamics which is playing over here. That is first point. And the second thing is that it's more about the silence rather than about what they speak. They don't want to get into this turmoil. They don't want to be hounded and harassed. That is one thing. And the
so what are you indirectly trying to say? They don't want to be harassed. They don't want to be targeted.
No, not indirectly, directly. If we support this party, the other party doesn't like. As artists, we are loved by all walks of life, all different people. If we choose one party over the other or one thing over the other, we get bombarded. As artists, you got to be doing your work unless you're ready to take the plunge truly so.
Right, Chetan?
The agenda of many in the film industry, including society at large, is essentially self-serving. If it benefits me financially, fame, etc., I will take that up. We need people, whether from films or in society, to take up causes not supporting any political party, to take up causes that fight the power structure. That is the responsibility of an artist. Fight the power structure means economically you fight for the poor.
So
socially you fight for the disadvantaged.
You're at risk of getting your contracts cancelled. You don't get another film signed. You can't feed your family in your industry that you're responsible for. Are you willing to take that risk?
I see. When you're early on, you have to do films. That's understandable. Once you have a star platform, people will sign you. There will be people who come to you. There will be, in fact, more people who don't know about you, who respect you more, who come watch you. You actually, people are able to distinguish between what you stand for in real life and what you play on screen. So they will come and watch you on screen. Your career you won't fall flat. But the thing is, you have to stand for something. You have to care about society. You have to have courage. You have to have values. You can't just, at the end of your career, jump into politics when for 30 years you haven't done anything for the industry or society at large and have people expect to take you credibly. That's not possible.
Ms. Lakshmi?
Yes. See, that doesn't happen overnight. You have to have that, you have to perseverance. You have to wait for it to unfold. And I don't believe in maintaining silence, because I feel there was a time when your work would speak for you. But nowadays, you need to do the work and talk about it.
All right, I'll take that from Saravanan quickly. We cut him short. Saravanan, you were saying not many voices today as spirited and fiery. You think they're silenced or they choose to be silent?
Yeah, and they choose to be silent. And what I mean by hounded and harass is more of this online trolling and attacks which come to them. And that is very, because previous era they were detached from spans. They used to write letters and wait for the reply. Now you can just have a fake account and you can troll them. And also they don't want to. People get offended and shocked and disturbed easily these days.
All right.
One thing, Nabila, you make a good film, people will watch. You have to have the courage to stand up for your convictions if you have some. Make good films and people will definitely watch.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining us and sharing your thoughts so clearly and without any fear on this stage. And that's what I think the India Today Conclave does time and again. It brings the best of voices and the most true voices. And appreciate you joining us today. All the very best, Chetan, Lakshmi, Miss Lakshmi, Saravanan.
Thanks, Nabila.
Thank you so much.